This is going to be the first of like Illustrator introductions, and there'll be 3 or 4 of them as we get into the projects. This is a really baseline intro to Illustrator. Obviously, it's different than Photoshop, and if you've never used Illustrator before, this is a good kind of baseline introduction to kind of give you an idea of how things kind of work and give you a feel of the program itself. It's Adobe as well, so all Adobe software kind of opens up and looks the same as far as the tools and the screenshots. What you see on the screen right now is kind of what I want you to do. Really simple, kind of abstract, and I call it a Kandinsky. Kandinsky was a painter, and I'll put up a little thing about him and his work in the guidelines. This is pretty simple, straightforward. I'll go slowly through it, but it should take you guys no longer than, probably 20-30 minutes at the most to do when going through it. Okay, so let me close this out. Okay, so we want to create a new document. And so in working in Illustrator, for us, we're primarily doing art illustration and then something maybe for the web. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do any printing. So why don't you just go ahead and go to the web. And then these are probably for our purposes, our best 2 as far as resolution and size. And again, for us, we're now working in raster vector graphics, so we don't have to worry about raster, which is essentially working in pixels. Here, everything we're focusing on, it's a mathematical kind of grid, and you'll notice that when you're working on what we call artboards in Illustrator, that the flow is much different if you're using a paintbrush in Illustrator compared to using it in Photoshop. It's a lot more fluid, and it is, like its name, built for illustration. And so, again, working with a stylus or something like that, if you are, is just really handy and really kind of ups your game, so to speak, when working in Illustrator. Okay, so for web, 1280 by 1024, and this is in pixels. Most of the time, you'll see it come up in points. You can also change just to get an idea what it is in inches in sizing. So this is roughly 17 by 14. That's fine. As far as raster graphics, we're really not concerned on this exercise with any of this. Later on, again, I think it's always best to go back and set it for 300 dpi, and this comes into effect if we're going to add some photos or integrate Photoshop within this document in some way, work back and forth. That's a little bit more advanced, and we'll talk about that as we kind of get down the road here. Okay, so just create. And again, this comes up and looks very similar to Photoshop, but again, we've got a whole variety of different tools to kind of use and some kind of different ways to kind of work. So one thing I've done with my my screen and my artboard is I've set it to Essentials Classic. That's the way I can easily kind of grab my colors and color guides, as well as grab my layers and anything else over in this box. You'll notice if you click on here, you can just set it to just Essentials, and it cleans up the space a little bit more, and then we have all these other possibilities too, as far as printing, proofing, typography. Again, it's going to be, if graphic design is something you're going to get into, these will make more sense as you start to learn more about typography and graphic design. For us, we're just going to work in Essentials Classic. So again, the first thing I want to do with this project is, I'm calling it the Kandinsky project, is I want you to work in just really simple shapes and colors and designs. And first, go over and become comfortable and familiar with this tools panel here, but this is going to be kind of your go-to. You've got your selection tool, typography tool, your 2 pen tools, which are going to become very important in some future projects, your color guides, and so on. And then, of course, I've already set up my color guide and color swatches over here. So just really simple, I'm going to go down here and grab make sure I'm clicked onto my rectangular tool. And what I want you guys to do is you're going to make 3 boxes. 3 rectangles and or 3 squares in some way like that. And you just go ahead and make them, and then go ahead and select your selection tool. And so in this project or this exercise, and then in future, both the V shortcut and the X are going to be two of your favorite friends. V for getting back to your selection tool, and then X, if you'll notice down here, in like Photoshop, it switches back between your stroke and your color fill. You see that move back and forth like that, like so. Okay, so I'm going to go to V. Make sure when you're working in Illustrator, you can automatically click, like you were clicking on layers in Photoshop, click onto an object. So we've made these 3 cubes, and I'm just clicking, of course, back and forth. I can select just one. I can, of course, select all 3, take them, move them around in the space, and place them wherever I want, and so on, and just kind of freely move them, which is really nice. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of move these here. I'm going to select on here. All right, so I want to fill it with color. So in this project, I want you guys to work in complementary colors. So complementary color of green is red. So I'm going to hit X to switch to my stroke, fill the outside stroke with red. You can barely see that there. So I'm going to go to this icon here, go to stroke, comes up, drop down and do it to 8 so I can see that better. So it's more of an orange. Go back up, a little bit red. That's nice. Okay, that's good. All right, I'm going to go here again. Let's see, I got yellow. I just chose yellow. Let's do my stroke a little bit larger. 4. X for my fill, and I'm going to fill it with purple. Come back to my third box. Let's see, let's do blue and orange. So fill it with blue, X, get to my stroke. Do my stroke with orange, and again, I'm going to enlarge that stroke here to about 10 points so I can see it. Okay, so we just automatically just have 3 boxes of color, pretty simple, pretty basic. So I want to have these boxes overlap a little bit. At any point in time, you can of course move things back and forth. And one easy way to do that is just Control, click, and then arrange and send back, and then it's automatically back. So I want to keep it front and center. So I'm gonna leave it there. One thing I will do is, let's see, my stroke is selected now, X, and I'll go to transparency here. Kind of drop that transparency a little bit, and that's nice because now my colors kind of start to mix a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing here with that blue. Just alter just a little bit. Now this is just similar to Photoshop, right? We've done this in Photoshop. Use the opacity as well as kind of those overlays. So color dodge, again, comes into play. Let's go back here. Maybe I'll do a hard light. Ooh, and I kind of like the colors there. So this is kind of what I'm looking for in this project, is that you're kind of investigating colors a little bit. Each one of these boxes, of course, is using complementary colors between the fill and the stroke. But then those colors between transparency and overlay start to mix and make different, different values, tones of those colors. So I'm going to take that whole box and just kind of move it just a little bit right there. Okay, that's cool. So again, this is just kind of simple and fun, but getting used to some of the tools. So I'm going to go back over here to my rectangle tool, and I'm going to choose my ellipse tool. And now I want you to make 3, oops, did I not click it? I want you to make 3 different sized circles. Don't worry about what color they are. We'll come back, change colors. So I'm just going to go ahead and make 3 like that. Let's go here. I want to, let's see. Orange, and I'm going to go back up here. Purple, yellow, and that purple, I can do a really light purple. There we go. I like that. But I do want to change that stroke size, so make it a little bit smaller. Okay, we can move over here. Color picker. Let's go for a really green. And again, really kind of play with the colors. We're just really working simply with our color picker. Obviously, we can get deep into colors, deep and further, and we will. We'll talk about that more, and when we get into some of these other exercises. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's see. I'm going to change my transparency a little bit. And what's my overlay? Ooh, that's cool. All right, difference. I'll leave that. And then our third circle here. Notice that if you can see down in my bottom left corner here next to Nicolas Cage, when I hit my X, I'm toggling back and forth between these two, the stroke and the fill. Right now, this is up. This menu is up, so it's not doing. You can't see it necessarily. Difference. Let's see. What's our fill color? Let's go green. Actually, let's make it red. And our circle green. Let's go dark green. And okay, so pretty simple. Now I'll just show you real quick another kind of tool, and this is again what I want you to look at is just like using colors, just dynamically using colors, and again working with just complementary colors in this exercise. Okay, so 3 boxes, three circles. Okay, so I'm going to this box, and I just want to show you one kind of tool. So our majority of the tools that we're going to be using are our selection tools, and we've got two different. We've got a group and a direct selection, and just our regular selection tool. Magic wand, again, our pins, type tool, eraser, and we get down in here, and a lot of these we're not going to get too heavy into. This cluster here, it's a little bit more advanced, but I will show you this kind of mesh tool, because you see, notice what it does there is that it takes it and it alters the light on an object, and it almost kind of gives it a 3D effect. So we'll twist off that. And you can see how that blend of color just did there. Very lightly. Let's go back and see if I click on that. And up the opacity a little bit. Now you can kind of see it. And so it adds that kind of like three-dimensional kind of element to it, which is kind of fun to play with. That along, of course, then you can use different gradients. So if I go over here and grab my gradient, and again, it's going to turn it gray here, but what you can do is just go over here, let's choose a color. It's more of a fuchsia. That's kind of nice. Again, playing with that kind of gradient color there. Okay. That's good enough just to play with right now. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it. So just kind of play and explore with that. You know, one thing I want you to do with this is just explore colors primarily. And then the last thing I want you to do is I want you to do 3 squiggles using the paint. Now make sure you're switched onto your stroke here. It doesn't matter what colors you're doing right now. You can always come back and change them. So did that, enlarge it. And do one more, even a little bit bigger. Okay. And I'm going to select one. And let's see. Nice kind of purple running through there. Ooh, I like that green. I feel like Bob Ross when I'm talking to you guys like this. Okay, and one more color. All right, so that's it. So again, at any point in time, if you want to push and pull these, move these things forward and back, you can always just control click. Arrange, send back, send forward. So I can send it all the way back if I wanted to. And that's really nice the way that overlay hangs, but I kind of want it on top, so I just leave it there. Okay, one more thing I want to show you then is that we've got just this kind of like abstract image of colors and shapes, which is cool. I kind of like it just as it is. It's kind of fun. But the other thing is cropping. And so cropping in Illustrator, essentially we're going to make like a clipping mask. And the best way to do it is kind of come back over here. I'm going to grab a rectangle tool, and I'm going to make just a kind of judgment call on what I want my my crop to be. I'm going to say kind of like I'm just going to crop it to be this area right here. All right, so I'm just going to leave that. Not going to worry about the color of the box at all. What I am going to do is select everything, then come back, make sure I'm clicked onto that last rectangle I made here, control, click, and then I'm going to go down to make clipping mask right here. And I'm going to click that, and then boom, it's going to get rid of all that nonsense or all the extra work that was around and behind it. And then if you want to come back and do, again, click on this and do like a background color in there. Let's see, I don't want, and then I'm just choosing a background color. So I'll just choose like a light color, like that. All right, and then I'm gonna, again, control, arrange, and send that all the way back. And then that's my final piece right there. So again, this is just what I want you to do. I want you just to get a little bit comfortable with picking colors, playing around in Illustrator, and kind of make a little, a really quick composition like this, just based on colors, shapes, and form. So 3 is the magic number. You're making 3 boxes, 3 circles, and 3 paintbrush marks on your canvas. And again, I'll write up the actual kind of guidelines as far as what colors to use when you're doing this. And that's your first example. All right, thanks guys.